All right, so for years, we've had this amazing thing, right? Virtual servers. You can spin them up in minutes, they're super flexible, super fast. But the network was always the slow one, the bottleneck. It was stuck in this rigid world of physical boxes and cables. In this explainer, we're going to dig into the technology that changed all that, VMware NSX. It's the thing that finally taught the network how to speak software.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we've got to talk about the problem NSX was built to solve. Then we'll get into the big idea behind it. After that, the fun part, the superpowers it gives your network. We'll also look at how it evolved. And finally, we'll zoom out to see how it fits into this huge software-defined shift that's, well, it's changing everything.
Okay, so let's set the stage. To really get why NSX is such a game changer, you have to understand what the world was like before it, this rigid, hardware-bound world that just couldn't keep up. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. It was this total disconnect, you know? On one hand, you could magically whip up a new virtual server in like 5 minutes. But getting the network ready for that server, it was like hitting a brick wall. Someone had to manually configure switches, tweak firewalls, set up all these rules. It was slow. You had this super fast, agile software world crashing into this slow, clunky hardware world.
Yeah, the old way was just a mess, seriously. Every little network change meant a person had to physically go and configure a router or log into a specific firewall appliance, maybe even patch some cables. This wasn't just slow, it was super error-prone, and it could stall a project for weeks. It basically canceled out all the speed we'd gained from virtualizing servers in the first place.
So, how do you solve a hardware problem? Well, you solve it with software. And that brings us right to the brilliant core concept behind VMware NSX.
And this is the aha moment. This is the whole key to understanding NSX. Just think about what we did with servers. We figured out how to separate a server's brain, the CPU and memory, from its physical metal box. Well, NSX does the exact same thing for the network. It yanks the network's intelligence out of the physical hardware and turns it into this amazing, flexible layer of software. This whole process, it's called network virtualization. And what it means is, all of a sudden, the physical network gets a much simpler job. Its only job is to be a super fast highway for data packets. That's it. All the complex stuff, the traffic control, the routing, the switching, the security, that all gets lifted out of the hardware and is managed by this smart, agile software layer that just runs on top. So how does it actually pull this off? Well, first, it just abstracts all those network functions. It pulls them away from the physical gear. Second, it creates this big, flexible pool of network resources, kind of like how server virtualization creates a pool of computer power. And then third, from that pool, you can instantly spin up entire virtual networks, all in software, just like you'd spin up a virtual machine.
So what happens when you start treating your whole network like a piece of software? You don't just get faster, you unlock a whole new set of tricks, what I like to call network superpowers. We're going to zoom in on a few of the biggest ones here. A totally revolutionary security model called microsegmentation, the ability to get true cloud-like speed and agility, and a completely new way to automate your security. First up, microsegmentation. Now, this totally flips the old security model on its head. Imagine your data center is a big, secure office building. Traditional firewalls, they're like a really strong front door, great for stopping stuff from getting in from the outside. But what happens if a threat does get inside? It can just wander around from office to office, causing trouble. Microsegmentation is like putting a tiny software firewall, a locked door, on every single office. So even if something gets in, it's trapped. It can't move laterally. It creates what we call a zero-trust environment. And remember that whole weeks-long provisioning process? Yeah, with NSX that just disappears. Now, a developer can just request a super complex, multi-tiered network through an API, and boom, it's provisioned automatically in minutes. They don't have to wait for IT tickets anymore. This means companies can innovate way faster. It's basically bringing that on-demand, self-service feel of the public cloud right into your own data center. Okay, think about this. Old school security was tied to a physical spot, like a specific network port. If you moved a virtual machine to a different server, its security rules could just break. NSX changes all that. The security policy is attached directly to the workload. It's like giving it a personal bodyguard that follows it everywhere it goes, no matter which server it's running on. This means you get consistent protection all the time. Of course, a technology this important doesn't just stand still. NSX had to evolve, and it did in a big way to keep up with what modern data centers really need. Okay, so the original version was called NSX-V. It was awesome, but it had this one big catch. It only really worked with VMware's vSphere. It was kind of locked into that world. But then came the next generation, NSX-T, and it just broke free. It completely decoupled from vSphere, which meant it could now support pretty much everything. We're talking multiple clouds, containers like Kubernetes, even old-school bare metal servers. It went from being this specific VMware tool to a universal platform for, the way data centers actually work today.
All right, let's zoom out for the big finish here. Because NSX isn't just another product. It's a key piece of this massive philosophical shift in how we think, build, and run our IT infrastructure. At the end of the day, NSX is what completes the virtualization story. We started by turning physical servers into software, into virtual machines. NSX does the exact same thing, but for the network. It lets us define, manage, and secure our entire network, not with wrenches and patch cables, but with lines of code. And this is really the ultimate goal, the software-defined data center. It's this vision where everything, not just your computers, but your storage, your networking, your security is all virtualized, automated, and managed together as one unified system. NSX is the critical networking and security piece that makes that whole vision actually possible.
So that leaves us with this one last powerful thought to chew on. When every single piece of your data center, from the servers to the firewalls, is just code, what happens then? What new possibilities open up? What new levels of automation and innovation can we even dream of? That's the world that NSX helps create.